Hey Wargamers, welcome back to the channel, Death from Above Wargaming. I'm Aaron, and it is another Sunday, and I'm back with Tom and Dave. So we've got a great jump point lined up for you today. This one shouldn't be controversial, guys, but you never know. This one's all about creating missions and custom campaigns, and we're just going to talk about some of the things that we do when we create missions and campaigns, some of the ideas that we have, and of course, you guys can share all of your great stuff in the comments as well. So we're going to kick this one off, guys, with a little bit of a patron Q&A.
Say what?
So this is from Wolvie, and Wolvie asks, did CGL miss the mark with BattleTech encounters by not including red dice? BTE is the entry point for future generations of BattleTech players per the recent Kickstarter post. It provides 5 white, 4 blue, green, black, and yellow, almost all the movement dice needed, but it doesn't have red dice. So, Tom, what are your thoughts on this? I thought that was a very great, and I didn't even realize. I feel like that's a big miss, right? Like
because
all of
of Kurita,
So all
or
of the
just
books,
because it doesn't map to
correct.
the other game systems.
Yeah, like all of the other game systems you need, like yellow, black, white, red. And this for whatever reason includes like blue instead of red.
Yeah. Well, so what I'll say is, and I could be wrong, but I think that this is like a game system that you just like slap a name on top of. Right.
Yep,
So I think the system was like out of the box, or is it? Yeah. So like those colors are probably used across every version of this game, and like nobody thought about it.
like in the Shadowrun version of the game, it's like the same
colors. Yeah.
Yep.
Interesting.
And so-
Intriguing.
Yeah.
Intriguing.
They probably don't have like a way to adjust the colors.
just can't do it.
But if not, then like it's interesting that would be cool.
Anyway, I thought that was a very compelling question. Like I always like reading the Q&As because there's always like every now and then there's like really great perspective, and it's like, huh, that's interesting. Why didn't they do that? All right, well, let's get into our Ready Room Roundtable. All right, and this is, again, all about missions, campaigns, so on and so forth. So the first sort of topic is this. BattleTech was made to be played as a multi-mission campaign. I want to discuss that. And by that, I mean standalone one-off games of BattleTech aren't as meaningful as games that we played where damage persists from like one mission to the next. Do you agree with that? Do you not agree with that? Dave, I want to start with you, considering you're sort of like the Alpha Strike tournament guy, and it is very much like love it and leave it. So tell me what you think about this perspective that BattleTech was designed to be multi-mission, and that's where it's at its finest. Do you agree or disagree?
Look, I love a narrative campaign in game systems. Don't get me wrong, some of the best times that I had in Warhammer were map campaigns and conquering territory and moving forward. That being said, it's 100% unachievable in any kind of tournament setting. That is very much a love it and leave it, get the most possible out of your mechs in each mission, trying to achieve a goal. So I think there's room for both. If I had the time to put into a campaign game, I would absolutely love to play in one. But if I'm going to go to a multi-day event where I'm playing 6 games at a time, campaign system's just not going to cut it.
Right. Tom, what do you think?
I mean, you can say that about, I think, any game system. Can you say that
Literally
where
any
it's
game.
not true for any game? Like, is there a game where it doesn't matter?
Yes. Well, I will cite...
What?
I'm going to cite it right now. Warhammer 40,000. Like, the units don't have, like, the level of granularity of damage taken, weapon systems destroyed, right? Sensors and pilot damage. No other game system, no other war game system has that level of detail. And so I'll take the dissenting opinion, and I will say BattleTech is still fun in the one and done, right, sort of fast-paced game. But I do think there is a lot. It is a game that is much richer when you don't just get to suicide, like Capellan style, launch your mechs into battle, and you have to be a little bit more thoughtful about, am I going to concede this mission because I want to keep my, my rifleman in play or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think that adds a lot to a war game. Now, I will agree with you. Every war game where this unit like this my tactical squad, if I keep it alive, I can use it in the next thing. I guess you could say every game's enriched by that experience. So I'll agree with you there. But I think BattleTech, because of the
granularity.
Yeah. So
no, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, I would say that maybe it doesn't actually change the benefit idea, but it's much more like gameplay or experience wise more gratifying, because it's one mech and you're like, do I repair it on this mission or not?
right.
Like repairing things, I don't know exists in other game systems.
Yeah. Right.
Like
Right. Yeah.
you
So
can't
it's kind of
repair a dead orc, you know.
you'll kill a can.
Yeah, my killer can. My
So
Choppa boys.
One of the best game systems ever is Mordheim, and it still gives you the ability to grow your units over time.
right.
But they're
Like
still,
in terms of
if
like they
they're
get
not
taller,
dead, they're
or
still coming in.
They hit
Yes,
they hit puberty.
absolutely taller.
They get real
Yeah.
tall. Their voices
Chest
get real
hair,
deep.
grow beards. Yep.
yeah. You actually have to like click on the button to like how long you want their pit hair. You know, it's like keep pressing.
That sounds like Necromunda. All right, so
That's funny. Necromunda.
let's talk about. I want to jump into creating custom missions. So Tom, we've played a lot of Alpha Strike, Override, Classic, where we've just made up missions, and sometimes we kind of make them up as we go, from one mission to the next. So I'm going to start with
Not
you.
supposed to tell people that.
Yeah. What
That's
I said the quiet part out loud. What are
That was
some
our secret.
important things that you keep in mind, right? Because you're a creative genius here with some of this stuff. What are the things that you think about, right, when you're creating these missions?
So when we're like creating them on the fly, it's much more about like if you have an idea of where the battle could end up, like what the next decision point is and how you get there, you design it around that. So like if you're saying, oh, okay, this is a a landing mission where we're making planetfall and we're trying to get a bulkhead, where might we have landed, right? Like why did we land here? And then from there you figure out, okay, well, there's an objective, right? There's the communication array, right? That's always a classic. And so it's like, okay, so that's obviously one of those active beacon missions. You're trying to get to a thing or you're trying to destroy a building, right? And so you sort of piece together the components, the modules of the campaigns that we've designed, and you're just kind of refitting them because you know the mechanics of them work and we sort of understand the balance that they give. So usually we're not creating things whole cloth, right? We're sort of taking ideas from other missions and putting them together. So we have a basis point. I think trying to like completely come out of left field is a bad idea, and it tends to not go well. So that's what I would say. I would say the idea is like you have this rich library of modules that we've put together into these different mission packs, and we can just kind of slice and dice them. Or
Right.
maybe it was like a different game system.
I was just going to say that, right? The modules could come from anywhere, right? I mean, and most of us do play multiple games, right? And so you got 40K, you've got Necromunda, you got Mordheim, you've got all the War Machine missions, right? There, you could just go through those and just cherry pick some ideas, and stitch them together. It's a great point. Dave, what do you think?
So you guys do a lot of narrative type games where you're telling a story, and it can be a multi-mission narrative, which is awesome because you get to add in those elements. If I'm creating missions, I'm typically creating them for an event. So the missions can't be asymmetric, which does eliminate some possibilities.
It does.
The bottom line is, unfortunately, there's only so many things that you can do in a mission. It's, kill the opponent, some variation of zone control, and that also lumps in King of the Hill. Destruction, like destroy a thing or capture the flag, get a thing and bring it back. And really just the ways that you can tweak and iterate on that to make it interesting is really the basis for any kind of symmetrical mission.
Right. No, it's a great point, and our mission packs, as we've evolved them over the last 4 years or so, right? We have explicitly like coded them as symmetrical or asymmetrical, right?
Mm-hmm.
And some of the tools
to give people, yeah,
right.
like
So like, hey, this is okay for a one-off mission, or like if you're doing a line breaker mission, it doesn't make sense, right? Because you can just suicide rush your dudes across the board. There's no, it's like cool, that's great, like super fun, right? But if all those dudes get gunned down and it's part of a campaign, there's cost. So anyway, the thing that I was going to say is this: like when I'm designing the missions, to Dave's point, it's like, how are the objectives laid out on the board, right? Is there an order in which I need to capture these objectives? Is that random or is it fixed, right? The other tool that you can play with is deployment type, right? And some of our new missions that
we started messing around with that,
right? You can, like, Dave and I were just talking about random deployments, right? Like where like you almost have like a blast template, and it's like, where do you start in this mission? Like, who knows? It could dramatically change, right, and make every game totally different, right? We've talked
I
about,
really like, not to like go off on a tangent,
do it,
but I really like the variable deployments that we started messing with. Like, they really add, again, like Dave was saying, there's only 5 or 6 archetype missions, right? And they all sort of are flavors of that. But when you say, okay, now we have the second layer of, well, maybe we start in the middle of the board. Do we start on 2 sides? Do we start on,
right.
all of a sudden,
do they come in waves, right? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Deployment all of a sudden adds the second layer. So now you get that,
right.
What do you call that? Multiple effect? Is it a multiple?
The Spider-Verse.
Is it a square? I'm not sure. Is it a square or
it's a hypercube?
A cube? Yeah.
It's a 4-dimensional.
Yeah. If you roll wrong, your whole board actually disappears.
You get sucked into a black hole. But I do like the missions. I will tell you this. I do like the missions where deployment can be variable and almost units can start basically like in combat, right? And it's almost like you're starting a movie, right? And the action's already happening, and then reinforcements kind of come on, right? I think there's a lot of cool things you can do there. All right, so
and that's I'll plug it real quick.
Cap it off.
So Nova is one of our big events coming off at the end of August, and they do reserves. So you build a core force and then a reserve force, and then at the start of the game, both players roll a dice or roll a d3, and the sum of those die is the turn that your reinforcements come onto the board, which I think is a pretty cool idea. And this year they actually bumped it up, so it's quite a significant force that is coming in your reserves. So it will certainly make for some interesting games.
That is interesting. So do both players' reserves come on at the same time?
Yes.
Okay, that's good, because if like you had 350 points of like units coming on turn 2 and I had to wait till turn 5, I would not want to play that game.
Yeah.
Yep.
that would. Talking about one-off, that wouldn't work. Yeah.
Yeah, and it tweaks list building as well, because you now have to consider, okay, well, it's possible my reserves come on turn 2, but it's possible they're not coming on until turn 6. And if it's turn 6, are they even going to get in the fight?
Right, they can't be too slow. Yeah, that's very cool. I like that a lot. It also is like provides a little check and balance for list building. Which, by the way, I'll let this is another sort of branch I want to go down. Another thing I think about with mission design is they should be terrain agnostic and they should be force agnostic. So if you're just like, I should be able to field all mechs, I should be able to field a mech combined arms, I should be able to field, like, obviously if you're fielding all infantry that moves 1 inch, maybe you're shit out of luck, but like it should generally be force agnostic. And it should also be terrain agnostic, whether you're playing in urban environments or hills or planes, like whatever. The mission should generally work. They shouldn't rely on specific units or specific terrain. Like there's a lot of missions out there, I can just soapbox for a moment, that involve mechs like physically picking up objectives and running away with them. And I want to shoot myself in the head with a PPC for those missions, because they're silly, because I don't know, like to me, like having a battle master like just grab some like highly valuable thing and be like running around the battlefield with it just seems goofy. I don't know.
It makes me think of in home ec class back in the day when you had the sugar baby that you had to keep alive.
Yes.
The pound of sugar. Imagine like the mech running around with the sugar. It's like
my
melting
God.
through his hands.
I don't know. So
Yeah.
if I want to field a force of all riflemen, I should still be able to complete the mission that involves me picking something up.
Right, instead of it just trying to pick something up.
They're like chopsticking it. It's so good. No, use your other autocannon barrel.
So good.
Oh God. Anyway.
To scoop it, you gotta scoop it.
Damn it, Johnson! Scoop faster.
Come over and help me. There's like four of them.
Oh my God! You have the two riflemen. It's like they're running around. Someone illustrate that, please.
Oh my God.
So anyway, really that's hilarious and off topic. All right.
Yeah.
So let's talk about campaigns. All right. So we built a campaign system. It was very largely based on the Chaos campaign concept with like tracks and missions within the tracks. And there was like a currency within that system. And they used like war chest points or whatever. We just used like C-bills basically, or support points. And you could use those to like repair mechs and do different things. What are some features of campaign systems that you think are like must have? And Dave, I'll start with you, and then Tom, you can weigh in if you like. What are some things that if people are designing their own campaign, what do you think top considerations would be?
Oh, and a way to recover from a catastrophic defeat. Some incentive, some mechanic needs to be considered that if you get tabled on your first game, you're not just out.
Right.
I also think just a growth mechanic. So whether it's gaining pilot abilities or gaining lance abilities,
that's a good one.
Really just give you some incentive to advance. If you're just playing the game to amass money, that's fine, but that's kind of a boring goal. If
Sounds
you're
like
playing
real
the
life.
game, exactly. But playing the game and actually connecting to your units is really what makes it fun.
Yeah, see, I get worse as a person, but I make more money, and that's fine.
Sure.
My pilot skill goes down, but
make more money.
My C-bills are going up. It makes no sense.
Perfect.
Yeah.
What do you think, Tom? What are a couple of things, one or two things?
Yes, so to compound on Dave's point about the catastrophic loss recovery, I think also not letting the accumulated benefits of a campaign win like make you run away. I remember we were trialing one where you got like artillery points, but it basically like if you won 2 or 3 games in a row, your accumulated benefits were just and so like the balance of winning doesn't mean that you're just going to keep winning. It is important. And then I think the support cost to repairing stuff, and this is maybe BattleTech specific, but I think forcing people to make you can't give like too many repair points, right? Forcing people to make decisions between repairing and not repairing and which one to repair and all this kind of stuff. That's really where you get the benefit of it. If you can just like auto click a button and everything's brand new again, not very fun.
There's no point. You're just doing a lot of
feeling
extra paperwork.
that attrition, right? That's so key.
Making it. What do we call it? Like we said, making it. You have to pay for your mistakes or whatever you want to call that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing. So a couple of things I'll throw on there as well. So the big thing for me, the advice that I give out frequently is how long you want the campaign to go, right? Like that's question number one. You want it to go 3 game nights? Do you want it to go 17 game nights, right? And this sort of question should be the foundation of the overall structure of the campaign. To Tom's point, like how many support points do you get, right? How many, like, for example, if I'm playing Classic, right, and we decide, we want it to be somewhere between 3 and 5 games, right? Maybe if you win 3 in a row, you win after 3, but it could go back and forth, but it really shouldn't be any more than 5. I figure we're going to play Lance on Lance, right? I'd say we do 12 to 16 mechs, right? And you figure out maybe some battle value that fits in that, right? Then you figure out support points that sort of make it difficult, right, to repair everything. You assume you lose 50% of your force, right, and you're down 50% every consecutive battle, right? You can do that math. So kind of figuring out that structure, just getting it down on paper. We want to play this many games. They're going to be about this big, right? I think that really helps because we've seen it both from our own experience, and I've had people like email and ask questions. Like, these campaigns can go on forever if there is like that regenerative mechanic, right? And there's too many units, and that's like nobody ever wins, right? The other thing that Dave brought up earlier, you mentioned 40K, and I totally support this. Like, some of my favorite 40K games were the map games, right? They had these little hexagonal tiles you would click together, the planetary empires. Yeah. You put the flags in. Fantastic for BattleTech. You could either use that system, I'm sure they're on eBay, or you could just, I think that you can 3D print them now, and kind of make your own map, right? I think that's super, super, super cool. Like actually saying, like, I move this lance here, right? I move this lance here. It's almost like Battle Force, but sort of zoomed out even further. And you could even have like my light lance, moves 8 hexes. My medium lance can move 5. My heavy, whatever. And who knows what battles will ensue from that, right? So that adds another layer of it too.
Yeah. Right, and that's tailor made for asymmetric type games. It's my light force over here is going to run into your assault force, and then you have to play that out. Right. Like, it might be a time where that light force just does not want to take the battle.
Right.
But coupled with that map campaign, you can start getting into super granular things like, hey, we took a factory, so we now gain some extra special ammo or equipment. Right. And you can start adding things in that aren't necessarily in, the campaign or the standard campaign rules. I mean, all campaigns really branch from the Chaos campaign book. It's just because that's the one that exists for BattleTech. But it's completely up to the players to kind of make it their own.
Absolutely.
That's what I was going to bring up, was like the special, like, you can move into a city that has a factory, right? Very cool, because it's fixed in place and it's a thing that exists. Very cool.
It's like a macro level objective, it's very cool. Yeah. All right. Well, this was great. This was a great conversation. Guys, I hope you enjoyed it. Leave it in the comments. Let us know what you thought. But we're going to move into our next segment here, which is a little bit of rapid fire. All right. So I said there was going to be no controversy, but here it comes. All right. So this is a new type of rapid fire called Hot or Not. So I'm going to say something, and Thom and Dave, you have to tell us if you think it was hot or not. Are you ready? So Thom, we'll start with you, and then Dave will go to you. Okay. All right, so the first thing here is BattleTech encounters, hot or not?
Hot.
Hot.
Urban mech, land air mech, hot or not?
Not.
For me, not.
Map scale dropships, hot or not?
Well, if map scale is smaller, right?
Correct.
No. Full mech scale or no scale?
Mech scale or bust.
Clear. Yeah.
Yeah, I want a beach ball.
Yeah. I want it so big that I have to sit on the floor next to the board.
I love it.
Yeah.
We have one that's
I get inside of it. Yeah.
Oh my God. Life-size dropship. All right, so last one here. This is not a hot or not question, but this is a rapid fire. Describe your style of play. Is it 1, take the objective no matter what the cost? 2, make sure my opponent never gets the objective? Or 3, there's always another objective?
Just as planned. I pick C. There's always another objective.
Dave, what do you think?
I mean, go for A.
Take the objective no matter what the cost. All right.
Yep.
I feel like I'm kind of a number 2. Like, I just want to grief other people and make sure they don't get the objective. I feel like a good offense is a strong defense or something. I don't know. All right. So speaking of which, here's what we're going to do now: is we're going to get into Thom, your favorite segment, the render blender. All right. So we have a new.
You gotta put my reading glasses on.
No, it's gonna be. It's a juicy one. It's a goofy one. It is from the new Mercenaries Kickstarter. It's the one and only Chameleon. Okay.
Oh.
So this is.
Mamma mia.
Yeah. So this thing is.
Exo Squad.
It looks like a freaking Exo Squad. Oh my goodness! You nailed it. 100%.
I clocked that thing 50 feet away.
No,
I know.
All right, I'm gonna go full screen on it, and Tom, you can blend this puppy. So I got 3 pictures of the Chameleon.
Dude, this thing is killer. I'm gonna put it on to like an 8 or 9 at this point, just because it. Like, I'm gonna say it doesn't really look like a BattleTech mech to me. Maybe that's just me. Like the arms don't look like BattleTech. The way it's posed, the like Ted Danson head cockpit is a little bit, and like it has like jet engines on the back. Like I don't know, it's a bit
little
weird.
anime.
Yeah, I really okay. So, but outside of that context, I love it. I love the jetpack back. I like the cockpit. I always love when it has a hand and a gun. You know, again the asymmetric design. The torso mounted. What is that like? AC.
Those are
What is that?
machine guns. I think
Machine
these are
guns,
machine
yeah.
guns, and it's like
MGs.
maybe a medium and a small. I think it's like 2 machine guns, 2 mediums, 2 smalls, and a large. This is
Yeah.
this is actually primarily
It's
a
an energy
training
boat.
mech for new cadets.
Yeah.
Fun fact.
Okay, you know it's funny. Like with that, I didn't actually know that, and with that, it does. It's cool because it does kind of look in that vein. I could see that, but yeah, I love the little antenna array horns on its head. It's very cool. Um, it has those again the sort of crab claw feet. That's kind of animated me. Um, yeah, I think I'd give this like a yeah. What did I say? An 8. I think 8 is pretty good for this. Now the bubble on its back, is that also a glass cockpit? Because that would be dope if it had a cockpit on its back too.
It's where like the
I'm gonna paint
driving
it that way when I
instructor
get it.
sits. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. The in-laws sit facing backwards, or it's the jumper seat for the kids. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
They
I
call
would
it a
so-
rumble.
like to
They call those
see-
a rumble seat.
A rumble
in
seat,
BattleTech.
yeah.
Yeah.
Jumper.
I can't
Yeah.
wait to see this thing in real life just to get a sense of how tall it actually is. It almost looks like the Battle Master's little brother.
Like an elemental, or what
Oh
was
my
what were those
gosh.
funny ones that were in between?
There's the Battle Master, and this is the Battle Miner.
The battle,
Exactly. Yeah.
the battle juvenile. Yeah, is it the juvie? We should call it the juvie.
God, dude,
Oh,
it's
I
so
mean, it
good.
is a medium. It's it's a scaled down. But
Yeah.
I just want to see how big it is.
What I love is that it's scaled down, but the cockpit stayed the same
Still
size.
It's
enormous. Yeah.
Very cool though. I mean, yeah, it's a cool design. Again, at first glance, like I don't get BattleTech from it, but it's cool.
That said, I think we will wrap up this render blender, and we'll also wrap up this episode. This was a great discussion. Hopefully you guys got some good tips on how to sort of run your own campaigns and design your own missions, maybe just some nuggets in here that you could take away and use. But if you want to enrich your gaming experience further, head on over to Aries Games and Minis. That's your number one stop for all things BattleTech, books, dice, games, all sorts of great stuff there, including source books that are chock full of campaign ideas and mission ideas as well. So all of that over at Aries Games and Minis. Also, if you do want to get more involved in the channel or engage Thom in consulting for your next campaign, you can head on over
Consensual
to Patreon.
consulting.
It's as little as $1 a month. That's it. That's all it takes just to get Thom to consult with you. But thank you again to all of our patrons out there. Without you guys, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. So thank you very much to all of our patrons again. So that said, wrap this one up, guys. Happy Sunday. Hope you enjoy it. Thanks so much for watching. And of course, stay tuned. Always great stuff coming from Death from Above Wargaming.